Hello and good morning, everybody. I hope this week has been treating you well. Today we are investigating a missing person case out of Japan. But of course, one missing person turns into five. Between 1979 and 1996, 5 young girls aged between 4 and 8 disappeared near Tojiki and Gunma, 2 prefectures northwest of Tokyo, known as North Kanto. And we'll also look into a little bit more of the recent repercussions of these cases. This is the story of the North Kanto Girls. My name is Eli, and this is Murder in the Morning. My sources for today come from Wikipedia, FSIgenetics.com, a Medium article by Nitila titled North Kanto Young Girls Serial Kidnapping and Murder Case, and the rest I will list down below. I found these kidnappings while researching unsolved crimes in Japan and happened across the case of Mami Matsuda. Only 4 years old when she disappeared, Mami Matsuda's disappearance kicked off a chain of events as confusing as it is frustrating. On May 12th of 1990, Mami was taken from a pachinko parlor in Ashikaga City. Ashikaga is in the Tojiki prefecture, and prefectures are what we in the US know as states. And a pachinko parlor is a place to gamble, specifically to play pachinko, which is this odd mechanical arcade sort of pinball machine that, of course, allows you to bet on the outcome. And Mami, this young girl, was later found dead at the nearby Watarase River. Now, and again, I'm sorry for the information shortage, but the next thing we learn is that the police made an arrest. In 1991, Mr. Toshikazu Sugaya was arrested and charged with the murder of 4-year-old Mami Matsuda. Toshikazu was a kindergarten bus driver at the time with no known criminal background, but police had claimed that they had DNA that matched his. Blood and semen samples were found on this little girl's shirt, and when tested against Toshikazu, the blood type matched. And with this knowledge, authorities claimed that after his arrest, the perpetrator, Toshikazu, finally confessed to the murder of Mami. But not only that, they claimed he also confessed to 2 additional murders. Years before, 2 other girls disappeared in a very similar fashion. According to Wikipedia, quote, on August 3, 1979, 5-year-old Maya Fukushima went missing while playing at a shrine near her house in Ashikaga. Her body was found naked in a rucksack 6 days later, abandoned next to the Watarase River. Then, on November 17th of 1984, 5-year-old Yumi Hasabe went missing from a pachinko parlor. Her body was found on March 8th of 1986, 2 years later, in a field just less than 2 kilometers from her home. End quote. The police would connect these crimes through the fact that one girl was found along the same river and the other was taken from a pachinko parlor. And although he apparently confessed, Toshikazu was only charged with the murder of Mami Matsuda and sent away to rot in prison. And that's where the story ended. That is until one journalist decided to dig a bit deeper. Nearly 17 years later, renowned investigative journalist Kiyoshi Shimizu shed a new light upon these murders. Authorities allowed Kiyoshi special access to this case due to his previous award-winning work, and what he found flipped the case upside down. Kiyoshi proved that the 1991 DNA testing method used to convict Toshikazu was inaccurate. And 2 years later, in 2009, authorities finally allowed the DNA to be retested officially, and guess what? It didn't match. Most of the markers, in fact, weren't a match. Back in the day, back in 91, it was simply because he had the same blood type that they arrested this man. and without a doubt, Toshikazu was innocent of these crimes and finally released in May of 2009 after serving 17 years. Now that people would actually listen to this wrongly convicted man, a story began to emerge. Because Toshikazu's blood type matched that of a killer, police coerced a confession out of this man over hours and hours of intense interrogation, including physical and emotional beatings. Toshikazu remembers the moment he decided to confess in a desperate attempt for the torture to stop. But our journalist Kiyoshi wasn't finished yet. He discovered two more similar cases, one prior to 1990 and one post-1991 after Toshikazu's arrest. Quote, on September 15, 1987, 8-year-old Tomoko Usawa left her house in Oda and went missing. Her body was found on November 27th of 1998, abandoned by the Tone River, about 60 miles north of Ashikaga. And on July 7th of 1996, 4-year-old Yukari Yokoyama went missing from a pachinko parlor. End quote. Yukari's body has never been found. Kiyoshi determined, and was later backed by the Prime Minister at the time, that all 5 cases were the result of one serial killer. All cases involved young girls between 4 and 8. In 3 cases, the victim vanished from a pachinko parlor. In 3 cases, the body was found next to a river, the Watarase River, in 2 of them, and in 4 cases, it happened on a Friday or a weekend. And on top of that, I'll add the fact that all 5 cases happened relatively close to each other and in a span of under 20 years. But wait, Kiyoshi still wasn't finished with his work. During 2010 and 2011, this journalist worked tirelessly to find the real perpetrator of those crimes. And he did, or so we think. According to Wikipedia, quote, in 2010 and 11, Kiyoshi Shimizu reported strong evidence that the perpetrator had been found, including DNA test results connecting him to the Ashikaga case, the Mami Matsuda case, which was a 100% match to the results of new tests of the perpetrator's DNA. Plus, he obtained video recordings of this perpetrator talking to young girls and making them sit on his lap. And Kiyoshi gave this information to the police, but no arrest was made. Kiyoshi presumes or professes that the DNA testing methods used in the Ashikaga case were flawed, and that arresting the perpetrator would require the prosecutor's office to acknowledge this. However, the same testing methods were also used in a Lizuka case, which was quite infamous, in which the alleged culprit was executed in 2008 despite requests for new DNA tests and a retrial. And acknowledging that the testing methods were flawed would lead to a massive scandal around that case and this case, end quote. So essentially, in order for Mami Matsuda and the North Kanto case to move forward, police have to acknowledge their wrongdoing, which it seems they aren't likely to do. To make matters worse, the statute of limitations has expired for 4 of the 5 murdered girls, prompting authorities to look the other way. If they can't arrest them, who cares, right? But, in my opinion, and I think most of us agree, the statute of limitations of any kind for murder or rape is diabolical. It's just, how can you put a time limit on that? I know the families and the public have pushed for investigators to try harder before time runs out on this last young girl, but I don't know. It seems the people in power would rather cover their asses than see justice for these young human beings. To make matters worse, I already said that. Even weirder still, quote, when the mother of Mami Matsuda was informed by the police that they were no longer investigating her daughter's case due to the statute of limitations, she requested that they return her daughter's belongings. But they refused to return the shirt which had the true culprit's semen stains on it. and they refuse to give a straight answer as to why. Kiyoshi suspects that it's because they are afraid that others might have the DNA of the true culprit tested by modern means, or third party. End quote. Simply incorrigible. To this day, we have 4 unsolved murders and 1 unsolved disappearance. I use the term loosely since Kiyoshi has claimed to have found the true killer, and I tend to want to believe him. His other famous case involves solving a murder that led to much needed legal changes regarding stalking in Japan. And that's a whole other can of worms, but very interesting if you're interested. Eli Casey. It was a good read, but I don't talk about it today. As for Toshikazu, quote, after release, now 63, he has written 3 books, one titled Falsely Convicted, and now tours the country giving talks about his experience. I tell people not to believe the police, said Toshikazu. Look what they did to me. During the years he had been in prison, he had met other convicts who had also been victims of miscarried justice and forced to false confessions. He continued, I want to go back to my quiet life of before, but when I think of that, when I think of others that have suffered the same treatment as me, I want to work to help them. Thankfully, in recent years, Japan has updated their terms on their statute of limitations, but their justice system is still extremely flawed, like ours. Medium.com references, quote, critics have termed Japan's criminal court system, quote, hostage justice, because detainees are forced to answer questions without the right to an attorney or to remain silent, and are kept in detention for up to 23 days. Japan's legal system has the potential to increase the number of false confessions and erroneous convictions. Some claim that because there is no presumption of innocence, psychological torture is not prohibited, and in certain situations, access to counsel during interrogations is non-existent. And even more so, international human rights are violated, end quote. A shame. But that, my friends, is the unsolved case of the North Kanto Girls. As always, I hope you enjoyed this episode, or maybe even learned something today. And if you're itching for some more true crime, I invite you to stick around after the music. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Oh, hey, po. Hello. This is titled, Former UPMC Doctor Tried to Push His Wife Off Hawaii Hiking Trail by Madeline Bartos and Shelley Bortz of CBS. Quote, silly guy. Quote, a former UPMC doctor and assistant professor at Pitt was arrested after police in Hawaii say he tried to push his wife off a hiking trail and hit her in the head with a rock. Honolulu police say they arrested Gerhard Koenig after a short chase on foot near Pali Highway on Monday evening. Earlier in the day, police put out a poster with Koenig's photo saying he was wanted for attempted murder at Pali Lookout. Oh gosh, some of these words, these locations and names in Hawaii are going to get me so good. Police say Koenig was in Oahu with his wife Monday morning when he tried to push her off a trail and used a rock to hit her in the head. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition, police said, and was able to tell officers that it was her 46-year-old husband who attacked her and left her for dead. In an update Monday evening, Honolulu police say Koenig was taken into custody and charges are pending. The new Nuuanu Pali Lookout is perched over 1,000 feet above the Oahu coastline, offering panoramic views of the Ko'olau Cliffs and Windward Coast. Gerhard Koenig was a doctor with the Anesthesia Medical Group in Hawaii and has since been suspended pending investigation. He was employed by an independent contract and provided medical services to facilities on Maui, the TV station reported. Before that, the doctor was an anesthesiologist at UPMC and an assistant professor of anesthesiology and bioengineering at Pitt. UPMC said it hasn't employed Koenig for more than 2 years. KDKA-TV talked to former neighbors and friends who said that Koenig worked at UPMC until he moved with his wife and 2 small children to Maui to take his dream job. Ben Brown lived next door to the Koenigs in Mount Lebanon for several years, and while he wasn't particularly close with the couple, he said they were friendly and considered them good neighbors. He continues, "I was surprised by the news," end quote. Not me. I mean, husband murdering the wife while on a hike? Come on, man. Really? I'm sure we'll have an update on that case probably pretty shortly. It seems pretty cut and dry. But that is all I have for you wonderful humans today. Thank you all again for listening in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please let me know. I would absolutely appreciate that. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Love you.